I'm the Doctor, simply the Doctor, the one, the only, and the best.
Now listen here, nobody takes my job.
Well, you're leaving soon, aren't you? There ought to be some replacement.
Hi, it's Russell. Sorry, David, we've already cast the 11th Doctor, so I'm afraid I'm not fitting for the bill.
Oh, yes, sir.
How dare you? Well, I'm just going to go and fly off in my TARDIS. Tethered aerial release developed in style. Allons-y. Hello, Whovians, and welcome to my review of the Doctor Who 2008 Christmas special, The Next Doctor, starring David Tennant as the 10th Doctor. So, after 3 series, David Tennant has 1 year left as Doctor Who, and we start to review the end of his era. The specials. Oh, look at that artwork. Coming to the end. So basically, instead of a 5th series in 2009, it was decided that because also Russell T Davies was leaving as producer, that him and David Tennant, they would work on a few specials that would air over the end of 2008 and into 2009, and obviously on New Year's Day 2010, which would be the last adventures of David Tennant as the Doctor. And today we start with the 2008 Christmas special, The Next Doctor. And then of course Series 5 would be in 2010 with Matt Smith. So, The Next Doctor, the plot is as follows. Christmas 1851, and Cybermen stalk Victorian London. The Doctor discovers a spate of mysterious deaths, and he's surprised to meet another Doctor. Are 2 Doctors enough to stop the rise of the Cyber King? So, The Next Doctor. Well, this is a story I've been up and down about it over the years. I've never really been the biggest fan of The Next Doctor, if I'm going to be completely honest, and in my opinion, this is probably the weakest Russell T Davies Christmas special. I like it. It's decent, but that's as far as it goes for me. I certainly feel like the second half is where the more exciting stuff happens. It used to be one that I didn't really care about, but on reflection, rewatching it now and having not seen it for years, I think it's good. I think there's some genuinely good ideas in here, but for me it's just not perfect. First of which, I want to criticise the title. Calling it The Next Doctor, it's very misleading, because at that point we all knew that David Tennant was leaving the role, and we knew that at some point we were going to find out who the 11th Doctor was going to be. And it turns out that this was just a big sort of publicity stunt to get people to watch the episode. So people would think that David Morrissey was the Doctor, which was not the case. I can see why Russell did that. He tried to use it as a plug for more viewers, which was okay, an interesting idea. But I think calling it The Next Doctor, it's not really the right title. I just think it's too misleading. I think they should have called it Rise of the Cyber King or something like that, because that makes more sense in the context of the story. I understand that Jackson Lake thinks he's the Doctor in the story, but to me, The Next Doctor is not a title I really thought fit the episode. And also my other main problem with the story is that it drags. For me, the pacing of this story is very slow in the first half. The first half an hour, it takes a while for anything to get going, to be honest. So I think that hurts the story quite a lot. And also the Cyber Shades, I'm not really a huge fan of them. They look kind of ridiculous, and I don't know, like, just the weird gold masks and the way they crawl around like apes. I just don't think you needed them. They're just unnecessary, to be honest. But that aside, I do quite like the idea of the story. The fact that it centres around a man named Jackson Lake who thinks he's the Doctor because of some incident with an info stamp. So now he's got all the memories and information about the Doctor, and he's sort of struggling with amnesia. He's trying to remember what's happened in the incident with the Cybermen. I mean, these sort of plots, these sort of amnesia type plots, they don't usually work, but in this case it's kind of an interesting idea, and we discover that Jackson Lake actually, he lost his wife and he has a son, and he's trying to put the pieces back together of his memory. And then he discovers that David Tennant is the Doctor, of course, and he does that with his help. But I think David Morrissey gives an excellent performance, and you could really see how at first he really is trying to be this hero that we know and love called the Doctor. And then his performance changes. It's almost like he plays two different characters, if you think about it. But it's a very well-rounded performance, and I love that moment at the end when, as Jackson Lake, he stands up and he makes everybody cheer for the Doctor. I think that's a really wonderful moment. Also, Vele Shashalaba, I hope I've pronounced that right, as Rosita. I mean, do they have to call her Rosita? I mean, come on, Russell, there's getting a bit obsessed with the name Rose, I think. But aside the name, I think she's quite a good character, and I quite like how spunky she is, especially when she punches Miss Hartigan. I think that's quite an interesting moment there, and she's pretty spunky. She's a sort of Cockney Londoner. She kind of comes across a bit like Nancy from Oliver Twist. She's a bit of a sort of harder-edged Cockney, and she loves taking care of the kids, and she very much helps them get out of the workhouse in the end, which is kind of cool. Dervia Kerman as Miss Hartigan. Well, you can see the name being derived from Miss Hannigan from the story of Annie, but still, Miss Hartigan, she's an all right villain. She's serviceable enough for what the story requires, and I don't know why they use her as the Cyber King. Why do they need a human to be the Cyber King? I didn't quite understand her importance in that moment, but whatever. And the Cybermen themselves, they're okay. They're pretty menacing. They're not quite as menacing as they have been in the Series 2 stories that they're in, but I thought they were decent in this one. They were scary, especially in the funeral scene when they start killing everyone. That's pretty dark, but yeah. And the setting of Victorian London is kind of cool, and it looks very realistic to that time period. I think the third act of the story is where it gets really good, and where it is actually quite fun, when David Tennant and David Morrissey have to go into the workhouse, rescue the kids, stop the Cyber King, and then the Doctor goes up into the hot air balloon to confront the Cyber King and uses some kind of vortex gun or something to get rid of the Cyber King. The Cyber King itself is okay. The CG is not bad. The design is a bit basic, but it looks okay. I mean, it looks fine. I also like the joke about the TARDIS. I think that's pretty cool. The fact that the hot air balloon is the TARDIS, and they call it Tethered Aerial Release Developed in Style. That was pretty funny. I quite like that. The sonic screwdriver being just an actual screwdriver that makes a noise. And he said, oh, that's Sonic. So I kind of like how the Doctor sees Jackson Lake pretending to be him, and having to rely on the basics that he has, which is kind of fun. And I especially like the moment when Jackson Lake sees the actual TARDIS at the end, and the Doctor lets him look inside it, and that's a really nice moment there. And for once, the Doctor has Christmas dinner. Seems to be in all of these Christmas specials, except Voyage of the Damned. He's offered Christmas dinner, but he never takes it until now. And well, actually, no, tell a lie. The Christmas Invasion, it was just the Runaway Bride that he didn't. My mistake. Oh, and there's actually a great moment when the Doctor is explaining about the info stamp to Jackson Lake, and he's saying to him, "You became the Doctor," and then he's showing him the projections of the previous 9 Doctors, which is really nice, and that's a nice fan service moment. I really do appreciate that. And the climax is big and spectacular, and it's epic, and the CG is pretty good, and Murray Gold's music is nice. It's nice to hear that Sideman theme again. But other than that, there's not much to the next Doctor, and to be honest, it's not one that sticks out to me. Like, it's decent, it's fun. I don't think the story really amounts to too much. In terms of the Cybermen's plan, it's very similar to what they wanted to do before. So they haven't really done anything new or interesting with the Cybermen, other than the Cyber King. That's the only thing I would say. But the actual plot feels kind of reminiscent of before, when they wanted to upgrade the universe. But they just want to do it from Victorian London. So to close it off, I think I'll give the next Doctor I'll give it a 7 out of 10. It's never been a story I've loved, to be honest, but I've always enjoyed it, and I forgot to really say that David Tennant gives a great performance as well, and obviously he's coming to the end of his time as the Doctor now, but his performance is still very good, and he's still really loving the part. It's very clear that he's really enjoying it, and his English accent hasn't slipped, or very rarely has it ever slipped, so yes. So, that is that. And next time, very appropriately, we will be reviewing the Easter special of 2009, which is Planet of the Dead, which will be the 200th Doctor Who story, which will be my 200th Doctor Who review. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. It was only a year ago, I think, I was doing my 100th review, which was Stones of Blood. And will I have an Easter egg in my review? Maybe. Maybe. We'll see. But anyway, thank you very much for watching my review of The Next Doctor. What do you think? Please comment down below. Let me know. Would you have liked to see David Morrissey as the 11th Doctor? I think it would have been interesting. But anyway, see you next time for my review of Planet of the Dead. So until then, I'm Mr. Tyler11. Thank you very much for watching. See you soon. Bye for now.